Welcome back. It is time to fill our raised beds. In order to do that, I have to take a quick trip to a farm because I don't have a farm anymore and pick up some of the gold, the main ingredient to our good soil mix. Well, it's wet. It's gonna be pretty heavy. So we'll see if we can get both bucket loads. I'm trying to get two bucket loads. They're 35 bucks a piece. We'll try to get 2 bucket loads in the trailer. And if the first one is too heavy, then I'll put one in the back of the truck. And this is what you get, 70 bucks, and that is a big load. It's pretty heavy, but it's not too much for the trailer, I don't think. We'll see on the way home. One of the reasons I like to get the compost from here, this is a lot of cattle and also sheep that they have, and everything here is grass-fed. They have round bales normally that they'll feed their animals all year round, and they do all their own hay fields here. So this is all stuff that we know what's in it. It's not filled with chemicals and medicines and other things. This is the most important ingredient because this is where all the nutrients are going to come from for your plants, your vegetables that you're going to eat. The world we live in is filled with chemicals. People spray chemicals all over their yards every year. Companies come out and fertilize and spray herbicides and mosquito killers and tick killers and all kinds of other chemical agents all over yards and lawns. A lot of places will sell compost, and they source that compost many times from municipal cities, collecting grass clippings and leaf matter from people's yards in the fall. They'll take all that matter from around town and they'll put that in compost piles. They'll let it sit, and then they'll sell that soil. And you have to be really careful because that stuff is laced with chemicals. That's laced with all of that stuff people put on their yards. Even though the organic matter has broken down, you're still left with actually a concentrated form of whatever they put on it. The good compost is where we begin, but that isn't all we're going to put in the raised beds. We've got a few other ingredients. The next thing we need is peat moss, sphagnum peat moss. Best place I have found to source this is actually Home Depot. They have the overall cheapest prices on bales of this stuff. I'm going to tell you all about what each of these components does for your soil when we get it all mixed together. But this stuff is a must-have in any raised bed mix. Many of you might be saying, oh, sphagnum peat moss is bad for the environment or something like that. Well, if you are one of those people, you can buy cocoa coir, which does a very similar thing. It's just 10 times more expensive. So if you're rich and you want to do that, you can buy cocoa coir. But peat moss is what I have used for years. It is still a little bit pricey to add to your raised bed mix, but it is necessary. It's going to make the soil exactly what you want it to be for vegetables. All right, we are here with our composted manure. A couple things before we start to fill that many people have questions about. There are lots of different methods to filling raised beds. Hugelkultur is where you would put wood material in the bottom. You'd put a bunch of sticks and logs and things like that in the bottom of the bed, and then you'd fill on top of that. I don't generally use anything like that, but I will sometimes I'll weed and get some of the local soil from around here, and I'll start with a little bit of that. I don't put anything on the bottom of the beds. It's completely unnecessary, especially with a bed this deep. I'm not worried about things getting in from the bottom. In fact, I want worms and other things to be able to go in and out of the bed freely. Today we have a 2 foot by 8 foot, a 4 foot by 8 foot, another 2 of those down there, same thing, and then a 5 foot by 5 foot in the back. And we're going to start by putting the composted manure in. I'll put a little bit in each bed, and then we're going to come back and put our peat moss in there. And I've got a method that I use for mixing this that has worked really well over the years. I brought the mussels out today, so we're going to be able to get all of this done real quick. All right, so we've got the composted manure in there, filled about 8 inches on the bottom, and then we put 1 bale of the peat moss in there. So what's gonna happen is this compost is really sticky. Much of it isn't even completely broken down, and you can tell because it smells still a little bit like manure. That's okay, it'll break down quick in here. What we wanna do is we wanna mix this with this peat moss, and what will happen is it'll make this sticky mess into something a little bit more fluffy. And it'll allow the soil to drain. This also, the peat moss will retain a lot of moisture, but it also allows enough moisture to drain. So whereas this compost does not drain well, and so this is going to break it up and help that. When we have one more secret ingredient, the last ingredient, we'll put that at the end. Right now we're going to mix this up, and the best way to do this, you can do it with a shovel and a rake obviously, but that takes a lot of effort and time. What I have found, years ago I bought this Earthwise little tiller. It's an electric 120 volt tiller. You just hook up a power cord to it, and this works great for mixing up these raised beds. I also have a little bit of a larger one, like a 12 or 18 inch, that I might use in here in the larger bed. We've got the solar panels and the little solar generator all set up over there, so this is where we're getting our power down here. And so we'll start to run this through here and get this all mixed up, and then we'll add some more compost and mix it again, and then we'll put our final ingredient in and get the final mix done last. Okay, all 5 beds are filled, at least with all the compost that I have for this year. I'll go over all the ratios at the end once we get our third ingredient added. I have found I have a larger tiller here, another electric tiller. This one I've had for quite a few years too. I think both this one and the Earthwise one were both Amazon purchases. This one for the larger beds works way better. It's got more power. The tines dig in a little bit better. And if you find yourself short on soil and you want to add a little more depth, of course you can always use your native soil. I have a lot of wood chips in this, and I don't really want all those wood chips in there, so I won't use too much native soil. I'm going to stick with just the mix. And if the beds are low this season, that's fine. We'll plant them, we'll use them, and then next year we can add a little more compost, and every year we just amend the soil a little bit and raise the bed back up. So I'm going to get these beds mixed, and then we're going to go pick up our final ingredient and get that put in, and then mix them one last time. Our last component will be found in here. And I think this is the place. Sand. I'm not sure which sand I'm getting. I asked for the finer sand, which is usually mason sand. And this is going to be just what we need to complete our soil mix. That is beautiful. Nice and fine sand that's going to mix in there just great. All right, we have arrived back at the homestead. So this is the one of the beds that we've mixed up. So it's got all this composted manure, and we have some of the peat moss in here. Now this has broken it up quite a bit, and it is loose enough now to plant in. We could just plant in it just like this, but we want a couple components in here. Number one, we want nutrients, and that's what the composted manure is for. It's going to give us all of the nutrients. It has all the macronutrients and most of the micronutrients that we need to grow almost all vegetables. And so you don't need much. There's going to be a lot of worms in here. There's going to be a lot of little microbes and a lot of bacteria that will start to grow, and fungi and all kinds of other things that will help to continue to break this manure down and provide and feed the roots of the plants. So I'm generally going to have about 70% of this compost. We want the most of that. Now, if you just had all compost, if it was just solid compost, it would not drain, meaning that it packs down, it gets very layered, and all the water sits at the top. So it doesn't drain through into the soil and get down to the roots very well. And it actually can retain too much moisture because the compost is so dense, it holds all that moisture in there and it can end up rotting. It's not a good, it can get anaerobic. There's not a lot of oxygen in there, and you get bacteria that you don't want. So we add the peat moss. The peat moss is usually about, I would say, 20% of your mix. And again, these are very loose numbers. The peat moss is what breaks all the compost up. So now that we've tilled that in here, now we have a mixture. The peat moss helps it from clumping together. You can see you can't really make it into a ball anymore, where if it was just the manure, I mean, you could squeeze this stuff into a ball and it would stay like that. Now it breaks up. So it helps it to stay looser. That aerates the soil. You've got a lot of oxygen in there, which is what we want for our roots. It's going to allow the water to seep in all those spaces and get down into the soil. And the peat moss also helps to retain a little bit of the moisture, but not too much. Helps the soil to drain. But it still isn't quite loose enough. It's not quite fluffy enough. Still a little bit heavy, and there's still a lot of clumps and stuff in here. And that's where our sand comes in. Sand has a lot of mineral in it, as well as it's going to help with our aeration and our drainage. But we don't want too much of this because there's almost no nutrient value here. Pretty much none. If this is really pure sand, it doesn't have any organic matter in it at all. There's no nitrogen in here, no potassium in here. So we'll mix in very little. About 10% of our mix is going to be sand. And what's going to happen is you're going to see this break up the soil even more, and it's going to make it even lighter and even fluffier and less compacted. And this is the final product. We have filled all of these raised beds. So our soil mixture in here, you can see there's still some clumps of manure that hasn't broken down, but the worms will get in here. They'll take care of all that. But look at this. This is exactly what you want. This is going to be a nice, healthy, fluffy, nutrient-rich soil for many, many, many years. You will not have to add any fertilizer to this. You will not have to do anything to this. You don't even have to turn it over every year. Just plant, weed, and grow food and eat it. That's it. And Kayla has her garden plot all planted. So the first 5x5 bed is all planted, and you can see very, very healthy soil and the best soil I have ever grown anything in. Stuff just grows like crazy in this. Things are coming together. We have 5 more raised beds all ready to go. Let me know what you guys think. Lots of tips and tricks. I know a lot of people out there have used raised bed gardening and have filled raised beds for cheap. So let me know if you have a variation of what I have used here or what you have found. We'll take all ideas and share that with the community so people can look at your comments as well as what I have showed here in the video. Thumbs up on today's video. Thanks for tagging along. We're going to take this garden and we're going to turn it from a mess, from a very low producing garden, and we're going to turn it into a vegetable and fruit producing machine. That's the goal. More videos to come on the garden. We'll see you next time.